of me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
What's up, film fans? Happy Tuesday, moviegoers. Welcome to Twisters. Welcome to episode 307. You're listening to a new episode of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Juan, and I'm joined by the cast, the crew, the Storm Chasers. Zach?
If you feel it, chase it.
Edward?
Gang.
That's where you say, if it's hard, write it.
Oh.
That's your line. Anyway, guys, what's up? Another good, glorious week. I'm super excited to talk about this movie with you guys today. I'm super excited about just this podcast in general lately. We've been hitting on all strides. Another episode dominating downloads, and just good to hang out with you guys. So it's also good to see good numbers come of these things. It's good to know that, hey, our little movie club, our little podcast that we're doing, there's some eyes on us, guys, so it's good. The Crow, which we did last week, episode 306, has reached heights. It's another best downloading episode of the year so far. The Crow dominated everywhere it was able to download. So if you guys want to download any of these episodes, you can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts at. iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, Anchor, Podbean, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Stitcher. So yeah, you can also check us out on the social media. So hit us up. Edward, how do they find us on the social media? All the links to our past episodes are right here in these links.
Okay, all right. So we have all these links down here below us. Either way, that's facebook.com/the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. That's Instagram Instagram /the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. X/Cine-Men 405. The email is cinemen921@gmail.com. That is CINEMN. We are the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Go ahead and send us an email. Like one of the pictures on Facebook, like one of the pictures on X or the Gram, man. We love interaction with any and every one of you folks. Plain and simple. That we like to have interaction, man. We like to have the downloads and know that you want our content, as well as the integral feedback from you. So yeah, keep it coming.
So yeah, we had a great conversation last week. The Crow. We also had a brand new top 5. So go back, listen to that episode, download, share, like, subscribe. Same thing with this YouTube channel. If you guys are enjoying watching us, comment, subscribe to Imisawa Productions YouTube channel. Wrestling, horror podcast, movie podcast, sports, all other kinds of stuff on this YouTube channel. So go check it out. But guys, let's just dig in to why we're here today, because it's the long-awaited sequel to a lot of our favorite movies here in this great state of Oklahoma, and let's dig into it. So we are talking Twisters, and I think this should be a fun conversation. Currently, right now, it's got a 7.1 on IMDb, 78% on Rotten Tomatoes, 65% Meta, and a 3.5 on Letterboxd.
And it has 100% in your heart.
A retired tornado chaser and meteorologist is persuaded to return to Oklahoma to work with a new team and new technologies. Starring Daisy Edgar Jones, Glenn Powell, Anthony Ramos. Maura Tierney is in this movie. Also, Sasha Lane, nice little A24 actor, had to point her out. Brendan Pereira, and directed by Lee Isaac Chung. I'll go first. I gotta admit, I was a little skeptical of this sequel when it was announced. Living here, you always hear sputters of a sequel to Twister. but it officially kicked off, and we were told like 2 years ago. And then filming took place last year, and so it was finally happening. I was able to catch this twice in the theaters. I went and checked this out Sunday night, and then again earlier today. So my first initial reaction, as soon as it was over, was
That's the review.
no, honestly, you know what? I think it blew past the original. I'm gonna go ahead and say that. So, Zach, what about you? First initial
Is that
reaction
was it after? Is that after the first viewing or the second viewing?
at the second viewing?
Second viewing. Okay. Yeah, like you said, Johnny. All three of us are probably the original Twister. Go back and listen to our episode. Is a childhood favorite of ours. You know, we've seen it 8 gazillion times probably. It's a childhood favorite. I recently picked it up on the 4K. Very nice, very good transfer. I don't know if you got to see that yet, Johnny, but it's a very good transfer on 4K. I was very hyped about this movie. You know, and then all the reviews started coming out saying, "Hey, this is actually pretty decent." You know, like you said, it's got 78% on Rotten Tomatoes, all this and that. The first time I saw it in the balcony, and Ed, I got to tell you, we went to the balcony up in Warren. It was completely sold out, just like the old days when we used to work there. It was actually kind of nostalgic in a way. The first time, I had fun with it. I liked it, but there's just something missing about it. I don't know what it is. We'll probably get into it. And on the second time, I went and saw it in IMAX, completely sold out, 600 seat theater. I like it way more the second time around. So I don't know what that says. We'll get into it. What about you, Ed?
So I've only seen it once. Funny enough, me and Juan went together. My first time. I don't know if that was your first or second time, but my first time. My wife has been wanting to see this movie. Like you said, all of us in Oklahoma, or quite a few of us in Oklahoma, are really, 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 really looking forward to this second movie. You know, 96 brought something that was kind of cool because, you know, there's not a lot about Oklahoma out there. Everybody thinks we're kind of podunk and still, you know, all that crap. But at the same point in time, this shone a little bit, at least, not much. It shone more of the outer towns, but a little bit of what Oklahoma is about. So I thought it was appropriate as a sequel. Some of the science and CGI and editing has a bit of wanting.
Let's dig into it then, because that was a first reaction. So let's dig into some of the reasons why you didn't like it. Ed, go first.
No. I didn't say I didn't like it, but I said what was wanting was the CGI and stuff like that.
I don't know, man. I gotta kind of disagree. If we're getting into it, we're 9 minutes into this episode, so if you guys have not seen it, I mean, spoiler alert, you hear tornado sirens and there's a tornado on the ground. So if you haven't seen it yet, that's pretty much the summary. Go back and check it out. Go check it out in theaters, because we're about to spoil the shit out of however you can spoil out a disaster movie.
So all three of us can probably, you know, come up. And I mean, if Craig was on here, he could come up and say the same thing. You living in Oklahoma, you know, that is our national or our statewide theme song is a tornado siren. We hear them every Saturday at noon. We hear them all the time through from March until June, basically.
Yeah.
You know, you can't spend a fiscal calendar year in Oklahoma with at least hearing, I would say, half a dozen, if not more, tornado sirens within a month, if not more.
If there was some negativity that I had to talk about this movie, that is the fact that supposedly the outbreak of tornadoes, and they stay in just kind of like a one state thing. I wouldn't have minded them seeing them go to other states, which, the last 10 years, it's proven that it's not just Oklahoma that has these crazy outbreak of tornadoes. So
Yeah.
again, it's a movie, it's a disaster movie. Let's make that clear. So I'm not holding it up against any kind of like science or anything like that. But I really do
Right.
wish it did venture out into another state or two. Honestly, that's the only gripe I have about it. I was going to argue with Ed. I think the CGI was phenomenal. I think it's been some of the best CGI in a disaster movie in a long, long time. You can definitely tell it was the producers of Jurassic Park. You can definitely tell that it was the
Yeah.
producers, and Steven Spielberg had some funding behind it because to me it looked phenomenal.
More I'm meaning with the editing of the CGI than anything, because I've seen clouds build. I've seen clouds build up. Like a lot of us kids in Oklahoma, when we were growing up, did spend some time looking up in the sky, or especially people who were born in the 80s, the 90s, even the early 2000s. We've spent time looking in the sky just like she did, So no, not every one of us has that instinct or that determining ability to say, "Yep, that storm right there has a low cast and the cap's about to break," because most half of us don't even know what the cap means. So for them to put that in there was amazing. But I've had tornadoes form less than 2 blocks from where I live currently. I've seen both EF5s in a rear view mirror. I ain't the most, experienced tornado person anywhere. I'm probably not even on my block right now the most experienced, but I do have experience with it.
And speaking of EF5 tornadoes, that's literally how this movie opens up, is with
Yeah.
death scenes and an extraordinary opening, which I think the first film lacked a lot of, which was you were supposed to make
Well,
it a disaster film. In this sequel, I feel like this movie does really good as far as deaths, the death toll. It
yes.
it rises, and this movie feels a lot more like a disaster film.
Well, if you remember in
Yes.
the original, it was her going down in the basement with her parents and her dad having to go ahead and, hold the door closed because
Right.
the door kept flapping
Correct.
open and all that. And he was taken along with the
Yeah,
door.
seen the original, but
Right.
I'm talking about in this one,
I
right
know.
off the bat, you get 3-4 deaths
3
right in the
death
opening
kills.
scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And I like I agree with you, Johnny. I agree that the death count in this movie is a lot more than the previous. But I like the realistic nature of that, and the film did a very good job of showing like the beauty of what a tornado is, but like in 10 seconds it could just turn violent and deadly and come after you. And the original movie that did that to a degree, but this is much more, I think, a realistic view of that. I think.
But at the same time, though, you have to be realistic and add in that original film was back in 1996. How much have we progressed just as a state to understanding in those less than 28 years? But how much have we progressed in like announcements and all that good stuff? I mean, I live not too far from Tinker, and far enough or close enough to where I can hear their vocal tornado sirens.
And you're right.
Doppler radars and
you're
stuff
right.
like that.
The Doppler radars have gotten better. The warning system. I mean, back in '96, it was probably 5 to 10 minutes. Now it's like 30 to 45 minutes.
And I mean,
I think that's a big impact of what that movie did. We really, maybe as a society or as Oklahomans or just like as the South in general, we took what that movie was and tried to advance technology.
Let's talk about the base of this film, of what the two different storm chasers are doing. In the first, and I don't want to compare, I hate that I'm going back and forth comparing, because to me it's night and day between the two movies. But I like how they added a bunch of subtle takes on this one.
Easter eggs.
Yeah. And at first with I think I should probably have their names pulled up. And at first with Kate, she is on her buddy's side, Javi, who is the corporate leaded sponsors, which in the original
Right.
movie they were the bad guys. They were the stay
Yep.
away from those guys. So the moment you hear corporate sponsors, you're kind of like, oh, he's somebody that we probably shouldn't trust. And then
Right.
in the opening movie, Tyler and his crew, they are pointed out to be kind of like how Joe and she had her crew. They weren't really
Yep.
educated. They were just living in the action, and that's how they got their experience. So I like how you still have those two different tone sets here in this movie, and it kind of flirts with the idea that she's going to stay with the corporate sponsors and see it from their light of view. But the moment Javi gets upset that she, kind of had like a little scare and didn't get out like she was supposed to, that is already
Mhm.
leading, and you're like, okay, maybe her and Tyler somewhere down the line are gonna become real close.
Well, not only
Yeah.
that, but if you look at the vehicles show a lot of the good guys versus bad guys as well. In the original, it was a red Dodge Ram. In this, a red Dodge Ram, for Tyler, Glenn Powell's character. In the others, they were very, uniform, clean. Yes, it was a
Sophisticated.
Dodge. It was a Dodge Ram T-Rex, a TRX. I understand, and Dodge vans and all that. I get it, but they had the more sophisticated equipment, where the Hick team had the sophisticated equipment in this for sure, but they were more of the gung ho, go get them. I'm a tornado wrangler, and all that. But at the same point, like, there's so many different parallels, and like you said earlier, Zach, Easter eggs to this movie on both sides of the ball. It's crazy, like we were talking after we came out of the theater. The way that Kate and Tyler dressed was quite reminiscent of the original duo.
Well, actually, let's talk about that for a second. The Easter eggs, I think they did a very good job of. I think that's one of the biggest compliments about this movie is that it's doing its own thing, but paying respect to what came before. Dorothy at the beginning of the movie.
Dorothy in this too.
Right, is the same one. Brandon Perez's character says, "Oh, we're going to the Sut Zone." That's Dusty from the first film. When Javi says, "I'm so glad you're back," and Kate turns around and says, "I'm not back," that's what Bill says when he comes back to the group at the beginning of the first movie. Kate is wearing a similar, if not the same, outfit that Joe wears at the rodeo.
Very similar.
So it's just, yeah. So it's cool. Like,
that,
they don't want to directly remake the movie, but they want to, if you're a fan of the original, then you're going to notice some of the little Easter eggs.
Did you notice that all three of the Storm Pro trucks, Lion, Tin Man, Scarecrow,
the Wizard of Oz,
Dorothy,
yep.
All that? I'm
Yep.
surprised Toto wasn't in this thing. There was so many different little nods of the hat or tip of the hats from this to the old one, even have an OU in there for that matter, little drops of it here and there.
Even there was a tornado in this movie like there was in the first one.
This dude.
Like,
right.
I almost could have sworn I saw a little bit of lightning too. That was like just like in the first one.
With this, you've got a duo of male female, of course, and the female is always the instinct. Basically, she's the smarter one mostly, but the instinct, where the guy seems more of the straight cut professional. In this one, he ain't glued to nobody. He's the Wild West cowboy that's just wanting the thrill and able to do this from his time in meteorology as well as interests in childhood. Probably
I like that part. I like that part though about how Glenn Powell's character Tyler is just like the modern YouTuber who's going out and exploring and doing everything he can to get his views, but he's also helping people out along the way. Like, another complaint I had the second time around is I really didn't appreciate the tornado whisperer that they kind of made Kate be out to be.
Yeah, but Bill Paxton was kind of the same way though. He kind of knew exactly which way the storm was going to go in the first one. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of, but I'm not going to say it's like verbatim, but
it's a little cliche though.
it is cliche, but at the same time, it's more of just nods, but at the same time to give that character a need. They are needed. They are wanted to be there simply because, no one can do anything like she can do. I mean, Helen
Right.
Hunt kind of had that as well in the original as Joe. It was a lot of that different education through cornfields, if you will. Look at, and I mean, some of it you can kind of look at and say, yeah, that's real, because when they were like, well, the air gets denser and heavier, that's true. I mean, don't wrong. I've felt that, seen that, noticed that, all kinds of stuff. It's true, but you can't necessarily say that's going to do that exactly, because I know that it's going to be all that. I mean, all three of us have seen the weather channels when they go berserk here, when they have a date where it's just a field day, and over half of them are excited and, yeah, we're gonna have this, and oh my god, storm of the century. No, but calm down on the energy drinks today, man. I know you're running a long shift, but this is too much. Feed us the info we need. So if you're in blah, 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 you need to be in your storm shelter now, damn it, now. Calm down.
I think the three main leads, Daisy Edgar Jones, Glenn Powell, and Anthony Ramos, I think they really, especially Glenn Powell, I think he oozes charisma when he comes on screen. When he busts in his truck, it's just like, okay, like when they do the first storm chase, technically it's a thrill ride. Honestly, it's like, this is why we came here.
And I have this written in my notes when it comes to just, I know he was in the movie I'm getting ready to talk about with Glenn Powell, but I think this movie is this year's Top Gun Maverick. It's not gonna make like $1 billion, but I think with everything that's surrounding this movie, with the cast, the action, the CGI, the sound, the story, the music, I think this is just as good, if not better, than the original. Going back and just my view of Top Gun Maverick, how I viewed that movie, there is so much more emotion in Twisters than there is in Twister, that I think this movie is just almost a little, if not a little bit more meaningful at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's definitely. I agree with that statement. I think it's one of the better legacy sequels, if you want to call it that, than a lot of the other ones that we've gotten in the last couple of years.
And technically, it doesn't even have to be a sequel. This could be almost just be a complete requel.
Because there's really nothing other than being around the same places, other than kind of having some Easter eggs and stuff like that. There's really nothing connecting them, dealing with the same subject matter. That's it.
Even then, an Easter egg doesn't qualify as a sequel. So I think.
Well, no, I'm saying that's the best you can come up with. You
don't even have to see the first one to enjoy this one.
Well, no,
I think
my biggest. I don't know if I want to call it a nitpick or a complaint. The whole thing with, like, when Kate, after the rodeo tornado sequence, which I think is probably the best tornado sequence in the movie, when she goes back home to visit her mother, the thing that really gripes me about it, and it caught me, it was on both showings. When you have Mara Tierney in the shadows and she walks into the dark, wouldn't that be so much cooler if that was Helen Hunt? Like, you just go there and say, yeah, she's the daughter of Bill and Joe from the first film. To me, it's like, if you're going to do that, just go there. But I feel like I can't fault the movie for not doing that, because I get what Lee Isaac Chung was trying to do with this. So I feel like, and I want to get your guys' opinion about it. Am I just complaining because it's something that I wanted to happen, or do you think it's a missed opportunity?
It's just something you wanted. I think it's just something you wanted to happen, because at the end of the day, I think her as a mom was a perfect mom, at least in my opinion.
She was good, yeah.
Yeah, in my opinion, at least. Ed, we'll get yours here in just a minute. But I think it was just something that you really deeply wanted, because if you were to put her in there, that would have taken away some of the awe-inspiring moments of, wow,
you think
Glenn Powell
did
really good. I think it would have cheapened the movie. It would have been like a cheap pop to just, oh, there's Helen Hunt. To where in all reality, 20-something years later, only the diehard people who've seen that movie more than once are going to
We're gonna
recognize
get
who
that.
are going to recognize who Helen Hunt is today. Unless you were a big
Yeah.
fan of Mad About You, which hello, I doubt you were. Helen Hunt
Hey,
was not.
I got the box set sitting in the other room. Thank you. No.
Don't say that out loud again. But yeah, unless you were just a deep diehard fan, I don't think Helen Hunt wouldn't have done anything for anybody today.
So the only thing I could really go ahead and critique the original on is the drawn out love triangle. Either have the wife or don't have the wife or fiance or whatever, one or the other.
You have that here with these three people.
No, I know. Well, yes,
Well,
but not really.
Not really.
Because
I mean, I think
Anthony,
Javi has like a respect for her as a friend, but it's more the chemistry between Tyler and Kate that is more prevalent.
I would almost say admiration.
If you've been on that Javi side to where he's like, there's one point, Kate, where I would have done anything for you. He says that in the movie.
Yeah.
Also at the end of the movie where there's the airport scene and he says, "Attaboy, Tyler," about like going after her. Like he definitely had some feelings for Kate. Even at the beginning when she lost her actual boyfriend in the underneath the bridge scene. Like there was some sense of where Javi was like, I kind of got feelings for you. So there's still that love triangle in this movie. Kate just doesn't see Javi that way, and you can definitely tell throughout the movie.
Yeah. So I mean, I would kind of discount that a little bit just based on that mainstay, but there's a ton to it. This is strictly a good, like you said, disaster movie. It's a very good movie of storytelling, for that matter. You know, what is it telling? Basically, it's telling about a girl's dream to go ahead and try to help find a way to choke and or subdue or really die a tornado down.
Tornado.
Yeah, which eventually does kind of happen, honestly. Especially at the end, it does happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, I guess.
But here's the thing, dude. I've heard a lot of people say, and I'm not criticizing your thought. I mean, if you think that, that's fine. You don't go to Twister or Twisters for the science. You know, you want to see Twisters destroy shit and, you know, them out in the field and chasing them. You know, in the film where they're talking about, we're going to put all this like sodium polythyrene or whatever into the funnel to make it stop. Okay, I'll roll with it. The scene where they launch fireworks in the tornado, which is a freaking awesome scene. It's an awesome scene. It probably can't be done, but I'm like, this is awesome. I don't care if it's real, you know.
I mean, honestly, stuff like that is just showing off, but it's more caring about the science just because they brought the science in. It's just like watching Big Bang Theory and being like, nah, they're all dumbasses. No, some of them have PhDs, legitly. Like, legitly. Yeah. You know, some of them probably know exactly what the hell they're talking about on there. I don't.
I just hope if there's people out there that go and watch Twisters and they're like, so you're telling me this stuff is going to get sucked in? Like, come on now. You're not telling me you went and saw Armageddon and you completely disobeyed the whole fact that they landed on a meteor to try to split it in half, or The Day After Tomorrow, which is a really fun movie.
Well, Jake Gyllenhaal. But with this, don't get me wrong, Day After Tomorrow is kind of a far-fetched weather thing. Landing on an asteroid, probably not going to ever happen in our lifetime. I highly doubt it.
Not today's world. The day after tomorrow is actually happening.
So you can't sit there and make that complaint for those movies. This is a far-fetched disaster movie.
Not really. I mean, not really. No, it's not. It's really not, dude. You being from Oklahoma, us growing up together, literally, how can you say that? In our lifetimes, we've seen 2 of the strongest tornadoes ever recorded. Recorded.
Okay. Now there's a difference between living and seeing tornadoes And then there's a difference between this being a far-fetched disaster movie, which that's exactly what this is. The
This
truck,
is not though.
it's pretty far-fetched, guys. Come on.
How?
At the beginning, when they're running from an EF5 tornado in the
No, it was a tornado
truck.
that grew.
But I'm just saying that's really far-fetched. The
How?
far-fetched.
Okay, I literally have, and I'm not saying I've. Okay.
The scene where her boyfriend gets sucked, but she doesn't, and she had his hand the entire time. That's far-fetched.
But now you're going into the science of it. The same exact thing you said me.
No. I'm just complaining. I'm just complimenting the movie on the disaster film, which is the way it should be.
Right.
It's far,
But at the same
I'm
time,
saying it's just as far-fetched as Armageddon, as the original Twisters, as
no.
The Day After Tomorrow,
the
as
original
2012.
Twister and this one are not as far-fetched as any of those that you just mentioned. 2012, I mean, don't get me wrong, the San Andreas Fault, people have been waiting for that to lop off for decades. Literal decades.
The stunts and the action, it's all far-fetched, bro. You
I
can't
understand that.
You can't tell me that a truck can have bolts come down and a tornado not completely disaster that thing.
You would be surprised.
None of the glass was shattered.
Look, okay,
the truck
hold up.
Flipped over, but then it flipped back over, like the oil rig scene.
Okay, the Dominator. There is an actual vehicle, 3 of them, if I'm not mistaken, to be very precise. The Dominator, it has spikes that shoot down into the ground 8 to 10 inches, literally. However, it is a highly different vehicle, but it is still, if I'm not mistaken, an F450. That was a Dodge Ram 3500.
The movie theater scene at the end in El Reno, completely just over the top. I'm not complaining about the movie. I think I like the movie more than you two put together, but I'm just saying it is a far-fetched disaster movie.
I'm going to say it's not far-fetched. There's just...
They far-fetched it for Hollywood, like they do every movie.
Yes, but at the same time, the biggest far-fetched that they use, the biggest far-fetched that I will agree with you on, is the CGI versus the real tornadoes that we have actually seen strike more, not once, but twice.
Well,
they
have to use CGI.
Was over 2 miles long, 2 miles wide. Sorry, over 2 miles wide. That's real.
They have to use the CGI, though. They can't use a real tornado, Edward.
We've worked at a place that got hit directly by it. No, we weren't there at the time. I don't think you worked there at the time, and I think I was there, not there on that day. Anyways, but what I'm saying is that the EF5s are not in any way, shape, or form too much, basically. I've gone through neighborhoods and seen the destruction. I've literally...
we're talking about the movie, though. We're not talking about our real-life experiences.
No, but you're saying it's far-fetched as The Day After Tomorrow, 2012, Armageddon, for Christ's sake.
It is. It is being a little far-fetched. The way these human beings were that close to these storms and these tornadoes, yeah, it's a lot far-fetched.
People have been recorded being thrown from tornadoes. Literally, there have been people that have been struck by lightning. There was a guy that was struck by lightning like half a dozen times in his life, and then his tombstone kept getting struck by it too. There's stuff like that that does actually happen.
But
maybe not in that way.
Movie
that's
are
true.
Far-fetched.
I will agree with that.
Okay. I'll come in between. Just yes, I mean some of the sequences are kind of like okay, but. There was a thing on last night about the one you're talking about, Ed, the 2013 tornado, and just how, it started off as little and grew into this huge monster of a storm, and went through more and literally just disintegrated after that.
El Reno.
So, yeah, I mean, there's the science of it. Like I said, I don't go to this movie for science. I just go to have a fun time, and that's what this is. I want to see, Tyler and his crew go in the center of the storm and blow fireworks up the funnel. Like I said, is it doable?
Up its ass.
Not, but it's awesome. So,
use his actual line, sir. Blow fireworks up its ass. Okay.
Yeah.
First off.
Exactly.
I do think 10 minutes of this movie could have been trimmed out. Zach, you were talking about the mom in the movie in the barn. I understand the barn sequence is good to get Glenn Powell and Kate or to get Tyler and Kate more connected. And he's like, let's try it again. But I feel like that sequence is maybe 5 minutes too long. Especially I don't like the interaction between her and the mom. I feel like the mom probably didn't even need to be in the movie.
I will kind of argue and just say that she was the in between with Tyler and Kate, because she more showed him the softer side, and she more showed her that side. You know, it furthered that relationship. So I will argue that not every bit of it's needed, but she was needed to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think also another good point is the cinematography in this. I think that this movie is really, really well shot. You know, you see like the flat plains of Oklahoma, and they look awesome. I checked out, you know, finally 10 years after you guys reviewed the film, I checked out the director's other film, Minari, just kind of see like compare and contrast. Which obviously these are two very different films, but just cinematography wise, if there is like crossover. There's really not. I mean, I heard this film was shot like on Kodak camera to kind of get like the real brightness of like being out in the field and being like out, you know, storm chasing. I thought that's cool. You know, you kind of bring like, you know, you watch David Payne or Damon Lang, you know, on a stormy day, you know, you watch them and it does look like that. So, you know, it's cool. It's cool, you know.
I do want to point out that I don't think any other director could have seen or had the vision that he has in this movie. And I know people probably looking at the name and being complete assholes, but for Lee Isaac Chung to do this movie, I feel like he's probably the only director that probably should have been chosen to do this movie. The way he shot Minari out in the open field, which, I mean, same way.
Well, and I read an interview with him, and he said, you know, he grew up here in Oklahoma, so he, you know, as a Korean immigrant, he learned what a tornado warning is, and you know, he has the sensibility of how we as Oklahomans and Texans and people from Kansas and Arkansas, when we're in that situation, you know, what our thoughts are. I think he nailed that perfectly in this movie.
The only negative about the director that did this movie is I wish he would have got Steven Yeun to be in this movie somehow, some way. I would have liked to see Steven Yeun play Javi, but a different character.
That would have been cool.
Because that was another one of my biggest gripes was the actor who played Javi. I just, when I saw that he was going to be in it, that was an automatic turnoff for me. And yeah, I wish he would have brought a little bit more A24-ish style to the movie, which I think he did. I think the cinematography for this movie outfar does the first one.
Yeah, I would agree. Even some of the shots, like aerial shots, and like the one scene where Kate is like looking out through the window, but it's like all top view. I think that was really well done. Let's talk about, you know,
he made a point to make El Reno its own character, because the first time you see that wide shot and you see El Reno, if you live here, you automatically know, oh fuck, something bad is about to happen.
I actually seen a Twitter post that a person took a picture of the water tower that fell and was like, "Don't you dare fall on Glen Powell again." I will say that some of the shots of the editing shots, I will say, of different cloud buildups and stuff like that, far-fetched on that. That I will say, I might be picking and all that crap, but at the same time, like if you say you're from here, clouds don't build from a little cirrus cloud to a big giant cumulonimbus or, you know, anything like huge like that. A storm cloud, essentially.
Well, that wide shot of the cloud building up like the wide shot of the cloud building up like that was all sped up, you know.
Yeah, no, I know that, but I mean, people don't. That's not how that goes. It takes hours, and most of the time, tornadoes don't happen out in the. I said most, not all the time, but most of the time, tornadoes don't happen out in the bright sunshiny day at 2 p.m. on the dot to, you know, try it. Like that's not. It's usually during the dark when it starts to cool down. The hot air comes around, and you got your mix going. especially around those times. It's kind of too hot here to go ahead and do that. But that's just the nitpick great things. It is. But as far as like, was this a fun movie? Yes, it was. I'd love to see this in 40X. Honestly, I'm
thinking, good freaking luck. Those seats are sold out like from here till the end, like till Deadpool comes out.
I didn't say I'm going to it. I just said I would like to.
I would have liked to see this in the panoramic view theater in Norman.
The only thing, I wouldn't know where to focus, though. You know what I mean? That would be my only gripe on that. Because for it to be, what, 3/4 or something, 2/3 or something like that?
That's why you see it on your second or third time, not the first time. That way, because you've already seen the movie, so you don't need to really pay attention.
Yeah, you can pay attention to certain scenes.
Yeah. But, I mean, was this a fun ride? Hell yeah, it was a fun ride. Was it a good story? I thought it was. I thought the character development was there. I thought that the story was great, honestly. I will say, there was a lot more to hang on from this story. It wasn't necessarily shoving you off of a cliff without a branch to hold on to. It had a lot to just grab onto and ride. It really did. And with this story, I do think beat out the original, but the nostalgia for the original will still always be there. But in 20 years, we may look at this and be like, damn, this furthered a lot of different things in, meteorology and different, studies like that, or kind of like that first one did with naturally occurring events after it. But at the same time, it's just a fun movie, man. It really, really is just a fun movie.
I already said it. In my opinion, I mean, I do think that the El Reno F5 tornado sequence is really well done. I think it's awesome that they do a movie theater instead of a drive-in. I was like, okay, that's another cool Easter egg if you like the original to a degree. But that rodeo sequence, man, is that I think is like the heart of the film. And you get a special cameo from Bill Paxton's son, which I thought was, very meaningful. Even though he dies, like his truck gets like sucked into the tornado like 10 minutes later. But that's just an overall well done shot. I mean, being at 9, and I wouldn't even think about going down in a swimming pool to hide and cover. I wouldn't even think about that.
You know what's hilarious? They said that was still water, wasn't stool water. I mean, still water. Sorry. It wasn't at all still water. But different things like that, like going to the gas station and just hanging out there for a while, that's awesome. There was a lot in this movie, like I said, to just grab and ride, or grab the horns and just take it down. Like there's a lot to this movie. A lot of good stuff. It does slow down in appropriate ways. I think it speeds up in appropriate ways. I think it's just got a good amount of beef to it. It really does.
And I lost my train of thought. Did you have anything else, Johnny?
Other than some of the side characters who I really enjoyed, I thought Ben was fabulous.
Ben was a fun character.
Ben was great.
The actor who plays Scott, he's the new Superman in James Gunn universe for next year.
Yep.
And I kept looking at him, like after I found that out, I was like, oh yeah, he does look like Superman, like the way, like his facial features and hair and everything. Especially with him being in like a wide country shot of probably how he's going to be in Superman and Kansas. It really makes me look forward to James Gunn's Superman. Do you guys have any favorite scenes? Zach, we'll start with you. The radio sequence. The first time we meet Tyler and his crew, and the first tornado chase is awesome. I would love to see this in 40X. I've heard it's an awesome experience. And the El Reno scene, I think it's the final F5 El Reno scene. I think it's hysterical that they're playing Frankenstein as the screen gets ripped from the theater. Everything, like I said, everything this movie set out to do, it accomplished, and it accomplished even more than what the first one did. Like I said, my nitpick was just with the mother thing. Like I said, it's nothing against Mara Tierney. I thought she did good in the movie. It's debatable whether you could cut that scene out from the movie, but like I said. What about you guys?
I'd probably have to say I thought the rodeo scene was really good. The oil rig scene right as you're getting to El Reno, and then obviously El Reno was a fun shot. And then you know what? I like the opening. I like how because the opening made it feel like it was going to be unpredictable. And I wish there was a little bit more casualties that you actually see in the movie, but this one still doubled up from the original. So I really enjoyed that opening death scene. It set a tone for the movie, like this is serious. So Ed, what about you?
I would say, of course, a lot of people are going to say that Stillwater scene, just because of how cool it really, really was. I will also say that I honestly, I like the barn scene where she was setting up the town that, she did the middle school science project on. I thought that was really, really ingenious, really cool, personally. And I mean, honestly, almost any scene that Tyler or Glenn was in that truck was pretty cool. Legitly, the only time I didn't like that little duo, him and the truck, was at first when they came up off the road, off the fields and onto the road, cut them off, almost hitting them. That's the only single time I will go ahead and be like, yeah, fuck that guy, Other than that,
I thought that was awesome. I was just like, yeah, that's exactly what you want. Two people trying to chase tornadoes. One's like more careful and trying to do it right, and the other one just like shoves them off the road and let's go.
I also didn't mention at the beginning of the episode, the budget was anywhere between 175 to 200 million dollars, and so far, opening weekend, it's grossed a little over 125 million at the box office.
Damn.
So,
yeah, it's gonna. And the fun and the cool thing about it is like, we got Deadpool and Wolverine this week, which everyone's excited about that. But if you think about it, the people that don't go see Deadpool, they're gonna go see Twisters. What's something we haven't seen? So it's like a residual. If we can't go see Deadpool, we'll go see Twisters. I've seen it twice. I want to see it again. I didn't think about that. The 360 theater down there in Norman. I think that'd be cool.
And I'll probably go sometime this week. Star rating, guys, for Twisters. Like I said, it's this year's Top Gun Maverick for me. So I think out of 5, I'm going to give this I had a lot of fun with it. I'm going to give this a 4.5. I think this one is way more emotion than the first one. I think this one has more casualties. It's bigger. It's badder. It's everything you want in a sequel if you want to compare it to a sequel. Twisters is a lot of fun. Go check it out. Zach?
I'm glad I talked to you guys, because at the first I was going to give it like a 3.5. I'm going to give it a 4. Man, I think this is an awesome ride. I want to see it again. And shout out to it has an awesome score about the vinyl. Has a lot of really good songs to it. So it's a throwback to when movies had soundtracks. So that's awesome. Awesome performances, awesome tornado sequences, everything that you want. At the end of the day, it's an awesome summer blockbuster, and that's more than what I can say for a lot of the movies that's come out this summer. I'm gonna give it a 4. What about you, Ed?
I'm gonna go 4.5. Liked it quite a lot. I know I bagged on it a little bit here and there, but there's very little to truly bag on it for being a movie. There's very little to bag on it for being anything that I'm being nitpicky about. Don't get me wrong. I had to find stuff to not like. I had to find stuff. I had to dig to find something to criticize. But at the same time, this movie is something I think everybody should see. I think it's a very fun film. I think it's a very cool film. It's a very interesting, entertaining, and informative film for that matter. 4.5 out of 5, man.
I feel bad giving it a 4 because you guys are actually higher than me, because I thought I'd be the highest one. I think I just think and maybe it's going to require more viewings of it. And you guys can if I'm wrong, you guys can tell me. I just feel like maybe because I have so much love for that original film, I don't think it has the same magic as the first one did. Does that make sense?
I get what you mean, but I think you're looking at it because we grew up with that film. Most of us were 3 to 6 years old around in this track. Well, what year were you born again? 93?
92.
92?
So
Most of us
I was four around 5,
four.
yeah.
We were all 4 to 6 years old when this movie came out. So there's a lot of nostalgia and a lot of love for that first film, that original film. But with this new one in 20, 30 years, what is its
I'll
legacy
probably feel the same way.
I guarantee
the same
you
way.
because it followed a lot of the tropes and the anecdotes and the little motives.
I think that's one of the issues there is with sequels these days. Like, I think at the end of the day, my biggest fan favorite thing that I did this weekend that I have to pat myself on the back is I went in and watched this movie. I didn't think, care, or even rewatch the original. I just went into this with an open mind. Technically, I went in, I was like, let's see what fucking Glenn Powell can do with tornadoes. And it made me love this movie. It made me love this movie 10 times more. I think if Top Gun Maverick didn't do it, this movie is definitely going to propel him to some of the heights that he's never seen before. This whole movie, I just went into it without even thinking about the original. If I went into it thinking and wanting the original, I wouldn't have liked it.
I want to say this about any of these cast members, any of them. How many times in Oklahoma City specifically, do you get to say, and actually go along with a red carpet kind of event? How many times do you actually see openings here?
True.
How many times do you actually see the stars come here for the movie and walk exactly where you walked to promote the film, for that matter? Not many. And I think I gotta say that was awesome.
I think the last three of them that did that here was Jason Bourne.
Yeah, Bourne Ultimatum.
Yeah, Jason Bourne had his
15 plus years ago?
No, the new one that just came out. No, the latest one that came out in 2016.
Oh, it was still 8 years ago.
You listen
living in Oklahoma, though.
Yeah, but you listen to those 3 cast members when they came back for the premiere. They said they have nothing but admiration for the people of Oklahoma. They said, these people are so resilient. They don't think twice about the weather. It's like, oh, this is just a natural occurrence to them. Most of these people are.
Of course, they want good PR. They're going to say nothing about good places about Oklahoma. They're not going to say anything about this town. It was cheap for them to hang out here, and it was cheap for them and their hotel and all their experiences like that. And then B.
Well, they said it was hot. They said it was hot. They said it was hot as hell, though, which they filmed in the summer of last year.
And then B. They were able to make a good movie. That's one thing you're going to start seeing a lot of in Oklahoma. And honestly, Ed, you were talking about premieres in Oklahoma. Killers of the Flower Moon just did it last year. So
okay,
yeah,
like so there's a bunch of good things that's going to come out of like just filming in Oklahoma. Martin Scorsese's already said it's cheap. You can feel like you're in the city, but yet you're also just an hour away from nothing.
In the sticks.
So
the New York sequence at the beginning of the movie was shot downtown Oklahoma City. So
And then the convention center downtown is a complete movie production studio. So, huge props for things that are coming this way. So,
I think we can all agree this is like one of the best movies of the year so far, in our opinions. I think we could all agree to that. So,
yeah,
top 5 for sure, maybe even top 10. So,
Zach, what movie would you take out to put this in your top 5 since you weren't with us last week?
Did I have Long Legs in my top 5?
Yeah.
I'd take that out. I'll put Twisters in there.
I would take Arthur the King out and put this in there.
Arthur the King's a good movie, so,
Yeah. Other than that, guys, I think that's it for Twisters. Now we are on the road and on the way to Deadpool Wolverine next Tuesday. Tuesday, July 30th, Deadpool Wolverine hits theaters this Thursday night, the day after tomorrow. See what I did there? Are you guys looking forward to this, or do you think, man, let's see how many different stuff they can throw at us to make a good Marvel movie? I'm scared about this one.
I'm excited to see the banter between Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. I think that's like the selling point of this, in my opinion.
It is. I mean, honestly, Marvel's first MCU rated R film.
Yeah. Disney's R-rated film.
Yeah, I was about to say it's not Marvel's first rated R film for sure. But yeah, it's hanging heavily on the chemical imbalance, we'll call it, of Deadpool and Wolverine, Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, Wade Wilson and Logan.
How desperate? And we'll talk about it more next week. But how desperate do you think Marvel is now that they've announced that they're bringing the Russo brothers back to direct some Avenger movies?
Yeah, we'll talk about it. It's. I don't want to say it's like desperate, but it's definitely like.
I think they're hitting the panic button because at the end of the day, they were always like, we don't really mind who directs our films because the movie is more than the director. The director just puts his little spin on things, and it's like.
Then why are you bringing back the two directors that made you almost $10 billion with like 3-4 films? So it's just it's open to interpretation.
So next week, that's what we're talking about. Deadpool and Wolverine. Should be a fun film and even better conversation. Other than that, guys, anything else to add to Twisters before we put the final nail in the coffin?
Go check it out. I think I think it's definitely the surprise hit of the summer, and it's definitely worthy of a theater experience.
Oh yeah, for sure. Go chase it. Go feel it.
And like Ed wanted to say, go ride on it.
Oh,
boomer.
Next week, guys, brand new episode, Deadpool Wolverine, live next Tuesday on another new episode of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Go see Twisters. Have a good week.
Yeah.